Suzanne Barron here, founder of Christ the True Light. So it's been a couple days since I have done a video. There's two reasons for that. I am now a caretaker for an elderly woman who is like 87% blind, 87% deaf, and her sleep schedule is a little off. She's been at first she's been sleeping in real late in the day, and I get up early enough to do these videos because she has to keep her television up at like screeching high levels um, in order to hear it, and that's all she ever does. She just watches TV all day long, and I don't want the TV to feed into my videos. It's so loud, like it's really loud. But I'm able to do it this morning. So it's been quite a few days actually here. Like I said, our sleep schedule's off. But what I'm doing here is I'm reading Bridging the Gap. If you're just watching me, there's other videos before this. I'm in chapter 2. It's long. I get really high strung with it, so it's kind of try not to go over 30 minutes. I hit 30 minutes, then once I hit 30 minutes, wherever I'm at, I'll finish that little portion, section, or whatever, and I'm just going to stop. But it's called Bridging the Gap by GMB Bailey. GMB Bailey. And it's about gang stalking. It gives you the like a real in-depth description of what is taking place in the world, see these quotations, with people who believe that they're being targeted by the government. Now, what I'm doing is I'm reading this to you so that you can see two things. One, the belief that this is actually happening in our world. And two, the toll that the suffering, the actual suffering, does to the person that's experiencing it. But at the same time, and I did not grab, it's right over there on the table, my Bible. Um, I, at the same time, I am trying to discredit this book by saying it's not the government. The experience is real, the suffering is real, and this kind of suffering literally is pushing people to suicide. And 2,000 people die each day of suicide. That's a big number. Every single day, 2,000 souls are won to Satan by suicide. But these things that are taking place in the beliefs are pushing people to suicide. It's destroying their lives. They can't break free. They can't find help. The government's doing this, that, and the other. But it's not the government. There is some like I do struggle in certain areas where it talks about like drug addicts and crime, people that are doing crime. If you're doing crime, then the government is after you. Yes, the police are after you. Now but you might not be under investigation. You know, you can do crime and get away with it sometimes. Okay, this is coming from a 14-time convicted felon. Okay, this is also coming from somebody who has experienced this. Voices, I've experienced all of this stuff, and I once believed everything about this, but I no longer believe it. It's not happening, and I have found freedom from my suffering through Scripture. Because it wasn't the government, it was Satan. The experience, the feeling, the fear is real. That's what you're feeling. You're fearing it. It's real, but Satan can line things up to make you experience that fear. And we are blaming, because this is a very popular book, gang stalking, targeted individuals. We are actually taking our governments to court. So it's not a conspiracy theory anymore. What used to be considered a symptoms for schizophrenia, paranoid schizophrenia, are now being believed, and we are taking our government to court for this stuff now, and we believe it. But there's still like a level to it. Like if you ever sit in a psychologist's office, like when I was going through, I thought all this. When if I were to sit in a psychologist's office, they would have said you're paranoid, schizophrenia, and they would have diagnosed me and gave me some sort of medication, and I would have not gone down this road, even though I still believed it. There are some people that never go to the doctor's office, and they're actual credible people, like the American diplomats who said that they experienced that. I have an article on my website where American diplomats, it was on, she even talks about this stuff being on, New York Times. I've even, on some of the other videos that I've done on this book already, I even pulled those documents. those New York Times articles and kind of picked at them a little bit to show you that this stuff is on New York Times. Like, they're saying the government's doing this to us, but it's not happening like that. It's not. So I'm on the part where it says every everyday life breaks in street theater. So this is like talking about surveillance, what the police will do, quotations, okay. But it says targeted individuals also complain about flat tires. I used to think that they were tampering with my car too. I used to believe that. Um, I had a forget what you call it. It's not the catalytic converter, but it's the part of the neck where it goes in, like it comes out of the catalytic converter, your exhaust pipe, and it goes up, and it's got that little springy thing that hooks into the back of the motor. I've got mechanical skills and mechanical knowledge. I may not always know exactly what the parts are called, but if I see a loose bolt, I'm gonna get in there and tighten it up. But it had a hole in that springy part. Um, and I would like duct tape it, not duct tape it. I would buy the heat tape that's made for piping, like the stuff that can hold all the tape. And I would try to fix it. I had some friend of mine take it to his shop and weld it. I've never welded, so I couldn't do any welding. And weld it for me, and then it worked fine for a little while, and then it busted up again. And so then I paid another man that I knew, his son. I used to smoke crack with his son. It was a long time ago. His dad owned a mechanic shop. But years back, I used to smoke crack with his son, and so I tried to take it to him, but he had died. I didn't know he died. And I told the dad, I knew your son, and so the dad gave me a little bit of a discount, and he fixed my car. Paid $200, but then it messed up again. Like who's putting the hole in this? It was more likely it wasn't somebody putting a hole in it. My cat is freaking out. Stop it, baby. More likely somebody didn't put a hole in it. I probably just hit something, and because that happened, you would say that's a coincidence, okay? But then other things would happen too. I'd buy brand new tools, they would stop working. It made me think that I would go leave my home and people would come into my home and tamper with my stuff because my tools would break. Brand new, I just bought it. I had a brand new steel weed eater. Never turned it on. I mean, I turned it on, but I never used it. And then when I went to go use it, it was broken. It's spiritual. Now, how does that happen? That's weird. I don't really fully know, but I think it's like an electrical thing. Um, because I have seen some very odd, strange things that really made me scared. Like talked about these things. How I had a light. It was a solar panel light. I bought it brand new. I put it up again. Something brand new. Put it up. It never worked. It stopped working like immediately. I'm like, what's this brand new? I just spent like $80 on this thing, and it was like up there. So I was going through so much. So I never took it down to take it back. I'm already going through so much. It's like you're going through so much. You don't have time to even be worried about that. You just get mad about it. Talk about that with the QA device. It's like $400. You buy it thinking it's going to help you, but it doesn't help you. And so instead of taking it back, you just kind of sits there because you're too messed up and going through too much. You're panicking. You're scared. The last thing you're thinking about is returning it. You just paid the money because you thought it would help you, but you're not returning it because returning it's not going to help you. Um, but the solar panel light, it never worked. And one day I had a blackout. Okay, well, I knew I wasn't afraid of the blackout. I was afraid I'm sitting in the woods, completely dark. Anybody can come up on me. I have no lights. But this solar panel light, you're supposed to walk by it and it turn on, and it's charged by solar power. But it stopped working. So I'm sitting in my truck, and they're not made to flash. They're not made to flash, and it started flashing at me, and I'm like, whoa, 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 and then it turned off. I'm sitting in my truck, like, whoa. And then it did again. By the third time, I literally had to get out of the truck, go over there, snip the wires on it from the light to the solar panel. That should have never even happened because they don't work like that. They don't work like that. So that should have not happened like that. That was the spirit in technology. Really call a solar panel technology, but it's a form of technology. It was in there. A spirit did that. Talk about ghosts and lights flickering and stuff like that. That was real. further prove more evidence of that, on that property, I have images on my website of demons walking my land. So that's exactly what it was, but I didn't know it at the time. So they believe targeted individuals also complain about flat tires, sleep deprivation, drugging of their food, like somebody's poisoning you. You can't eat anything. Everybody's poisoning your food. Putting dirt on their property, home break-ins. Didn't I just say that? Strangers doing things in public to deliberately annoy them. These informants will be told to be at a specific place and time and to perform a specific action. So these groups of people are gang stalking you. Your whole town is watching you. They know everywhere you are, and they are intentionally set up in place at certain spots to harass you, just to stand there and cough at you. You imagine telling somebody, everywhere I go, people are coughing at me, looking at you. Ha ha ha. Everywhere I go, people are doing that. They would think that you're crazy. I talk about how the 6 people would pull up in my yard. She goes into further talk about how like the targeters will mess with you, sensitize you to a certain stimuli. The color of a t-shirt will be red. So that way, whenever the targeters will always wear red when they mess with you, mess with you, mess with you, and then they'll give you a break. But because it had happened so much and you experienced it for so long, you were sensitized to that red stimuli, um, that stimuli of a red t-shirt. Then whenever you're anywhere out in public and you see somebody in a red shirt, that you're gonna assume that person is your targeter, even though that person's not your targeter. So it amplifies the effect everywhere you go. But it's still spiritual. Like I said, I broke free from that. Um, targeted individuals also complain about strangers in public talking about private things other in their lives. Strangers know your story, everything about you. I mean, some cases that's true, okay, but like I said, these things pile up, and so that's what happens when it's all of these things happening. It's not this like, how does this person know anything about me? Some people do gossip. So what? That really does happen, but like I said again, the it's the uh it's the piling up of all of these things that makes it so difficult. Um, Private things in their lives. Portions of telephone conversations will be repeated. Private discussions held in the home will be alluded to. The informants use this to create a sense of paranoia in the target. Okay, I spoke about this one before too. Um, Say you're in a room, all right, and you're around 5 different people, and y'all are having a conversation, and somebody says something in there. Okay, it's no big deal. Later on that day, you go to somebody else's home and you're around 5 more people, completely different people, and it's the same day. This makes it even worse. It's the same day. And what was talked about in the other house was brought up in this room, this person, this house. So it's been brought up twice. That's a coincidence. Okay. But then you go to somebody else's house the next day. Okay, so it's another day. And the same thing happens. Again, one time this happens, all three, that's a coincidence. Okay. But by the third one, even on a coincidence, you're kind of like, that's weird. We just spoke about this. But imagine this happening all the time. All the time. It begins to place fear in you. Now, in scripture, God would line up certain things. Now, I don't really have a specific idea for the storytelling portion of it, like the conversations. But I mean, prophets would say something many years later. Different prophets would repeat the same thing. But God would like, he had, Peter is the best one I can come up with. It's the one I hook often. You know, he had a vision and he woke up and God's about the sheet and the animals on the sheet, and it was about taking the message. Like, I've never eaten anything unclean, but you could preach the whole message right there. But I just want to show you that in the story, when he woke up, he said, God sent 3 people to him. 3 people are coming. He lined it up. Okay. He lined it up. Satan can do the same thing. He can do the same thing to cause you suffering. But then at sometimes it's not as bad, right? If what is said in those 3 houses is bad, then obviously that would be like Satan. It could be a warning, but God can speak through us. So can Satan can speak through us. And we don't realize that there's a spirit in us that's doing that. And we get paranoid by it. Sometimes it's bad, then it's Satan, but sometimes it can be good, and maybe we need to sit down and slow down and listen. Listen. I'm already 15 minutes in. I don't know if I'll ever get through this book. These actions individually might seem harmless. See, that's what I'm saying. To these citizen informants, but collectively, these actions can be causing great psychological trauma for the target, e.g., blocking target's path, getting ahead of them in line, cutting or boxing them in on the road, saying or doing things to elicit a response from targets, etc. It's like the death of 1,000 paper cuts. 1 or 2 minor incidents will not cause any harm to the target. Didn't I just say something like that? It's even better. But over time, the target is slowly worn down. Where does the support or funding for this come? The government would be wasting a lot of money. Okay, this is supposed to be happening to millions of people across the globe. So it's not just in America. So all of these governments are funding this to spend money to torment and harass and torture innocent people. Innocent is the word I really want you to hold on to. I need a computer. Um, they're just blowing a lot of money. So where does the money come from? Though gang stalking itself is unethical in nature, similar programs such as this in democratic countries and non-democratic countries have always been funded by the government. They are the only ones with enough money, coordination, and power to keep such a system in place. These coordinated efforts then join hands with others for this systematic form of control and harassment, ruling the community with an iron fist. Scripture talks about an iron scepter, ruling the world with an iron scepter. It's supposed to be Christ in that. Some areas of scripture I have to further investigate to fully say for sure. But the idea of that Christian belief and all the 45,000 denominations, they believe that iron scepter would be Christ, who will rule the world with an iron scepter. I'm not going to say that that's not true right now, but there's things in scripture that they don't see. Those things that they don't see is what helped cure me. I did a video to a pastor, a preacher, but he was also a minister, a prison minister. I did a video to him. And I said, what I see in scripture healed me, helped me escape all of this. No Christian could ever teach that to me. So I teach a message that Christians have not heard of. But it cured my mental health. It cured me. It helped me escape all of this. I took in my life experiences and I found my answers in the Bible. And it freed me. So I don't understand how they can't comprehend that that's got to be the truth then. If it helped cure me, how can it be wrong? How can it be a false doctrine? What I don't comprehend is this either. Some things I just cannot wrap my head around. How do I'm not the Christians, there's a they have good hearts. I don't necessarily fault them. Okay, I don't fault them individually. I believe that they have brotherly love. I believe that they are doing the best that they can. I believe that they're looking in a direction and they're fighting hard. I believe that they are the ones who have a reputation to be alive. I believe that about the Christian denominations. I believe that. Their hearts are good, brotherly love. They love God. They're trying to do what they can to serve, to live life free of sin. Okay, I believe that about the Christians. I go to church myself. Okay, I've not found a church that believes me, but I still go. Okay, how how can they not see this? Some of them don't even recognize it. There are 40, and I repeat this one. I repeat it. It's important that they understand. You understand. There are 45,000 Christian denominations across the globe, and they all have different doctrines. Each one believes that their doctrine is the truth. They have different doctrines, different teachings. They're teaching a different message. All combined and basically the same, but their message is all different. But they all believe that their message is the truth. There are not 45,000 truths. There's only one. There's only one truth out there. So how can they know that their doctrine is the truth when there are 44,999 in competition with them? How come they're not thinking about that? That is a dissension. That's the Second Thessalonian prophecy revealed during a fallen away. The word is dissension. Disagreement that leads to discord. I hope you can't hear that TV. That's what's happening in our world. We are in the dissension right now. So how do I know my doctrine is the truth? Because I've been shown things. I've heard things. I've seen things. And what I did not understand, those answers I sought for, I found in the Bible. And I am the only person I know, only person I have ever met that teaches my doctrine. If you go to a congregation, Church of Christ, for instance, there's how many people in that building? They all have that same doctrine. Yet how many Church of Christ buildings are there in the world? A lot of people teaching one doctrine. I am the only one teaching my doctrine. Very few find that door. All right, they are the only ones who have enough money. Okay. These coordinated efforts then join hands with others for this systematic form of control and harassment, ruling the community with the iron fist. Savvy law enforcement types realized that under the community policing rubric, cops, community groups, local companies, private foundations, citizen informants, and federal agencies could form allegiance without causing public outcry. Covert Action Quarterly Summer 1997. I don't have that to look that up. I don't have the tools to look that up, but it's Covert Action Quarterly Summer 1997. My other phone is dead. And I'll lose the spot. Under the guise of community operated programs, these unions are happening in many countries around the world. There is also governmental cooperation happening across many countries. This is why when targets move, they can be consistently tracked from one location to the next. I'm a little distracted. I'm sorry. I'm just going to read this. I just finished reading it. How do participants communicate? Informants communicate in a number of ways. The following are some methods. Yes, ma'am. Informants communicate in a number of ways. The following are some methods that informants use to prepare for covert food surveillance. As you will see, there are guidelines that informants should be following. As many targets are aware, however, these guidelines are not always adhered to. The unit is about performing covert foot surveillance operations in order to gather information, intelligence, and/or evidence. You must be able to deploy from a vehicle and conduct the foot surveillance on a subject using approved techniques to gather information, intelligence, and/or evidence, negotiating hazards whilst remaining covert, at all times and assisting your team members to remain covert also. They are expected to use a range of equipment suitable for the task: cameras, radio, image intensifiers. You must maintain communication with the team upon using approved, recognized methods and be able to rejoin a vehicle covertly. So, like, hold on. The accurate recording of any information, intelligence, and/or evidence gathered during the operation is also required. The purpose of conducting surveillance operation is to gather information, intelligence, or evidence, and therefore this unit links to 2A1. Gather and submit information that has the potential to assist policing objectives. These are what the people are doing. These are what the trackers are doing to their targeters. Conduct covert foot surveillance operations. Perform criteria to meet the standard. You, 1. Provide researched, flexible, and plausible covert stories consistent with your appearance and the operational environment. Make appropriate use of any clothing and props necessary to remain covert. On innocent people. If you're like under investigation by the cops, then maybe, but you'd have to be like drug runners or, like I don't know, the mafia or something like that. I mean, if you're just an innocent everyday Joe on the street just going to work at a fast food restaurant, why would they do this to you? They're not. Satan wants to tear the government down. This is what's tearing the government down. It will do that so that AI can take its place. 3. Make any effective use of covert distance, timing, and position during surveillance operations. But you feel like this. I mean, it's so believable. I understand because I have been there. React to changing situations by employing appropriate tactics. 5. Employ close control techniques where necessary to gather information, intelligence, and evidence covertly. 6. Employ other appropriate surveillance techniques where necessary to gather information, intelligence, and evidence covertly. 10. Assist other team members in remaining covert. Throughout the surveillance operation. 11. Carry out all roles of and recognized foot surveillance system effectively, efficiently, and covertly. 14. Where appropriate, coordinate your actions and communicate with other teams and individuals to maintain effective surveillance operations. 15. Deploy from and rejoin vehicles covertly where used. 16. Recognize the limits of the authority for the surveillance operation and take the appropriate action in respect of changing circumstances. 17. Appropriately document all action, information, intelligence, and evidence in accordance with current policy and legislation. Communicate by radio, or communicate by radio, by telephone, by using hand signals. They also communicate by using a one-handed sign language that is very, like, one-handed sign language that is similar in nature to what the Stati in East Germany used. Many targets have described these hand signals as baseball or other signals, but you know how the baseballers do, like, the, you know what I'm saying? Uh, but they are most similar to what the Satis used. Okay, so that's chapter 2. Finally got through it. Chapter 3 is covert techniques. This will probably take me a really long time to get through. Okay, sorry about the distraction. I apologize for that. Please share this. Thank you.